Peace, warriors. Peace, family. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, the host of the Men's Room Talk Show, coming to you live every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Family, this is the place where you're going to hear the voices of our warriors, our heads, our leaders, our Black men who are doing positive things in our community, to support the community, to embrace the community, to advance our community, to re-establish our community. We have here today, family, a special guest who is about the business of fulfilling his purpose. And we're not going to take too much time to introduce him. I'll just get right busy and right to it, family. Today we have our warrior, brother Syeed King. Welcome, warrior.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the lineup of people who came before me, y'all, I'm honored, man. I'm honored. Thank you.
We are honored to have you, brother, and we appreciate you giving us your time and your energy and your effort to be a real man, a real mind. See, man means mind, a thinker, but all males are not men. You have to qualify yourself.
Yes.
So I understand, brother, that you are a serious brother. And I like to see that you are involved in developing the minds of our youth. And you are an advocate of self-evolution. Now, can you give us a little peep into your life, to come up to the point where you are today in advocating self-evolution?
Yes. Wow. So going back to, my childhood, I was a very active young man. I was a very active young man, exploring different parts around around the community, and getting involved in some things that I should have not been getting involved in. While I was going, and if I take because a big part of it starts when I was in middle school. I was a troublesome kid and nice kid, but just found himself around in the wrong places at the wrong time, dealing with the wrong people. And I was fortunate to have some men that truly invested in my life, invested through words, invested with time, and a mother who was really, I always say the closest love you can get to God is a mom's love. And she really showed me that love and tried to keep me on track and tried to model that, right? And like I said, putting men around me to kind of cultivate me, because a mother cannot teach a boy to be a man, right? You need men. And I got to a point that I was at Pickett Middle School, and because I was in so much trouble, they pitched an idea to my mom, and they said, "Hey, how about we put them in?" They call it the RAP program, and we sent them to Randolph Skill Center for a week, and they go to Pickett for a week. And she said, "Hey, you know what? I think this would be good for you." And other men confirmed that. They said, "Hey, you get to learn a skill. You get to make a living for yourself." And I chose carpentry,
Mm.
and that was the beginning. It was the beginning of me finding out who I was. Never became a carpenter. Found out I was not interested in carpentry.
Mm.
However, I learned something though. It separated me from the pack that I was running with. And so, because it separated me from the pack, it gave me confidence and it started to keep me out of trouble. Again, I had men in my life who would pull me aside and try to coach me along. There was a gentleman named Bill, and Bill, he said, "Hey, you can come work with me." And he would take me on to different jobs and let me work, do some of the things that I was learning in the classroom, hanging drywall, screwing in studs, nailing studs, things like that, and spackling. It just it opened up my eyes to the possibilities, even though that was something I didn't want to do. Key thing, it gave me confidence. And so, because it gave me confidence, I was able to stand up against some of the temptations that were around me in my neighborhood. The corners were calling me, as it called many of my friends and cousins. They were calling me. But because I was busy with productive activity, such as practicing the craft that I was learning, I began to evolve.
Mm.
And I began to understand like there is more to what I am seeing on a daily basis. And that was the start. That was the start.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, the thing is, brother, is that in order to be where you are today, all of that had to happen. See,
Absolutely.
see, everything is good. Whenever you're learning, no matter how painful it is, the blessing is in the lesson. So as long as you're learning, how can it be bad? It might be painful, it might be
Right.
hurting, but you can't beat the blessings.
Right.
So, after how would you even know who you are if it wasn't for a challenge?
Absolutely. As my mentor told me, never let a good crisis go to waste.
There you go, brother. There you go.
Something comes out of that crisis. You should be a new person coming out of it. And while all that was going on, and I went on to high school, I was fortunate to meet I would the first person I called my mentor. Had other mentors, but the first person I called my mentor Dr. George Cross, now known as Dr. Akbar, he's was my mentor, and you talk about I was a hot tamale. You know, I had anger issues. Uh, you know, you say the wrong thing, you got a fight on your hands. And just his calm spirit and him modeling what a man is like. And he was it's interesting because he was cool at the same time. He was a poet. So he had a way with words. And going to Germantown High School, you know, you had some characters there who would challenge his authority, but he would come back. He would come back in a crafty way where it just make you think. Where somebody may come with a threat, but before they even carry out their threat, they stuck in the thought. So you know, he I saw him um, be able to deflect bad energy, negative energy, with wisdom. And I to the point where I played football for Germantown. I would be late going to practice. Why? Because I was captivated by a man who genuinely had love for a brother. And he would speak life into me, giving me hope to, you know, to reverse my ways. And he didn't know what all was going on, but because he was speaking life into me, it just was like it was magnet. He was magnetic, and yeah, he was the first person that made me start thinking about higher learning. And he told me that, hey, you know, you should major in communication, because I love sports so much. He said you could be the next Ahmad Rashad. I'm like, wow, really? So it was something to aim for. It was something to aim for. And I believe if you're going to evolve as a person, you have to be aiming for something. Yeah. Les Brown said, you know, you shoot for the moon and you miss, you land among stars.
Woo.
You
Yes,
know.
sir. A lot
And
of
he
wisdom.
gave go ahead.
A lot of wisdom.
Yeah, yes, yes. And you know, he gave me a moon to shoot for. He gave me a moon to shoot for.
Beautiful.
So I'm basically I'm saying that story because that was me. To answer your question, that was me evolving, and these were the uh, things that were causing me to start the transformational process.
Wow, that's beautiful, brother. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So now we got a little general background on where you came from there.
Yeah.
You know, well, you know, us as a people, we have rough starts. And all of that is part of the process to get us where we are today. So, uh, but what made you come up with getting involved in being an advocate of evolution, and exactly what is that?
Okay. So I I am I have you, you know they say lean towards your passion, things that you're passionate about. Naturally, I always been a person who cared for people, always. And as I was going through, again, never let a good crisis go to waste. So as I was going through my troubles, I started to think about where I was going to be in the future and how I was going to reach back and help the people that were like me. I have a saying, I say, at some point in time, you're going to meet yourself in the future.
Mm.
Either you're going to tell yourself, hey, you know what? I've been through it, and this is how I overcame it. Or you're going to say, hey man, I've been through it. I understand, but you don't want to go down the rail the path I went. Oh man, you don't want to do that. I'd rather be the first example I told you. I'd rather be that one. And so I always believe that it was my destiny to reach back.
Mm.
As you climb each rung of the ladder, you should have that arm back to pull somebody up the next rung.
Mm. Mm.
So that was my attitude. That was me. Always looking back to see who I can bring with me. You know,
Mm.
as I look throughout history and look at some of our great leaders, they were leaders for a reason. They weren't leaders because they look good and they sound good. They were leaders because others were impacted by their presence, by what they were saying. And as they were saying these things, they had people going with them.
Mm. Mm.
And that's my burden. I have to bring people with me in the direction that I'm going. And they may not walk with me physically, right with me. However, I'm planting and watering seeds as I go along. So at some point in time, they're going to rise up and take their place.
Mm. Mm. That's some deep things. So, what good is it to have it, have no one to share it with?
Absolutely.
So, and I understand your Syeed means patience and bless. You know, so how does that fit you? Name means nature now, so yeah, we got to be
Yeah.
careful what name we choose, brother, because we got to fulfill that.
It's funny you say that because I was telling my wife as we had our children, and she would come up with names, and I would say, well, what does it mean? She'll look like, what is that? Why is that important? I'm like, because I'm big on meaning. She's big on simplicity. I'm big on meaning. So we combined the two. Um, because words are power. And so as a person call your name, they're calling you, they're calling you something. And so, yes, I agree. Now, my mom, she gave me the name. Um, I'm not sure what made her. I'm not sure what made her pick Saeed, but I know she wanted to spell it so it can be simple for someone to phonetically sound it out. Even though they still mess up on my name to this day. But yes. So my whole name is, check this out, Syeed Hakeem King.
Wow,
Yeah, that's my whole name.
wow,
So,
wow, wow.
yeah, and Saeed and Hakeem, they complement each other. Yeah.
True. That's true. So do you feel that you're measuring up to your name, which is your nature?
Yes, it's something again, and it's something to shoot for. It's something to shoot for. And so that for love or wisdom being the company that I started, that is a reflection of what I'm striving to be and
Okay,
living up to my.
who do you who do you pattern yourself behind specifically? Who made the greatest impact uh, on your life to be about transformation and to really look at the power of fulfilling your purpose?
So, I gotta say, starting with my mom, right? My mom, she charged me to be more than I forget, and she may not remember this, but I remember I told my mom I was young, I was in my adolescence. I said, "Well, I'm going to be like you. I'm going to graduate. I'm not going to no college." And she looked at me, you know, you know, in our culture, parents don't have to say a word; they could just give that look, right?
And that speaks louder than words.
They just give you that look, and no need. You can't respond to that look, and you can hear every word that's going through, just running through their head. And she let me know, like, no, you're gonna be more than just going to school and graduating. You're gonna be more than that,
Mm, mm.
right? And I never forget. She taught me a principle that, again, and me being a parent, I realized there's certain things that you don't know how valuable it is. It's going to, or how much impact it's going to have on that child's life. Where we're just going through our routine, or just how we're just parenting. And one day I was in fifth grade. I was in the District 6 choir, and my mother said, "Well, let me back up. So I'm in District 6 choir. Like maybe twice a week we had rehearsal because we was doing this big concert, and I forgot my lunch. I always look forward going to the rehearsals because I got to go to the store, buy a hoagie and chips, and have the ideal lunch, right? And so this particular day, I didn't know we had rehearsal because they would pull us out in the middle of the day of school. And so they said, "All right, Saeed, get your coat. You have rehearsal." I said, I don't have my lunch." They said, "Oh, we'll get your lunch from the cafeteria." I said, "I don't eat that lunch. I don't eat that lunch." And they said, "Well, you can't you didn't bring your lunch, so we'll just have lunch, but you have to go to rehearsal." I said, "I'm not going." Like I took a stand. Like I took a stand. I said, "No, I'm not going." So they said, "We're going to call your mom." I said, "Yeah, call my mom." So I'm thinking my mom is going to back me up, right? My mom going to have my back because I don't have my lunch, and she know I don't like that lunch. So she told him, she said, "Put him on the phone. Put me on the phone." I'm like, "Mom, they want me to go to this practice. I don't have my lunch." She said, "Take the lunch and go to practice." But my take the lunch and go to practice. Got off the phone. They gave me that crappy lunch. I got on that school bus and I went on to practice.
That was wise.
Now you might say, "Well, what's the significance of that?" She taught me never quit.
Mm, mm.
She taught me never quit. So I dare to say, if she would allow me to back out of that, that would have manifested in the rest of my life.
Mm. Wow. Thank God for mom.
Right, right. And I don't think she realized how significant it is. Obviously, I'm 47 years, get ready to be 47, and it's in my head. It's still that memory still goes through my head, and I'm able to share that with other people when I come across young people about certain things and they want to back out, and I'm like, "No, you can't, because
Mm,
that's going to turn up. It's going to turn up in a relationship,
mm,
and
mm,
you're gonna hit the eject button prematurely. That's going to turn up on a job,
mm, mm.
right?"
That was,
It's-
it was a serious seed that took root.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, I cannot quit. I can't quit. So my mom, she played that part. Um, there was some other John I mentioned. I mentioned Bill. Bill, who actually took me under his wing and helped me with the, fine tune the craft of learning carpentry. I had some cousins, um, some of my mom first and second cousins who kind of like took me in, and watching you, the third person I'm sharing this with.
Mm.
Um, because I just never said anything. Watching Dr. King speak. Of course, I wasn't alive then. However, but watching him speak, it did something to me. In my adolescence, just watching him, the Black History Month, that's all they would show, right? Teaches about Dr. King. Dr. King was the only one, right? The only person who responsible for civil rights.
Right.
Yeah. Like, but watching him speak and seeing the impact that he had on multiple generations of people, all different ethnic groups, and how he captivated everyone, inspired me. And I was saying to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to speak. I want to impact people. I didn't know what that looked like though. I didn't know how that was going to look,
Mm.
but it had me. And so back to you saying that seed was planted. And while I was pursuing, as I got older and I put carpentry to the side, I was pursuing playing football and possibly a field in the communication, in the field of communication. So I always said, hey, I'm gonna play football. If that don't work out, I'll be a sports commentator.
Mm.
And so again, my mentor, who I met in ninth grade, told me I could be the next Ahmad Rashad. So I was
Mm.
gunning for it.
Wow. Wow,
I
that's
was
beautiful.
shooting. Yeah,
That's beautiful, brother. And thank God for mom, and thank God for your mentor, the brother, in school, and all of that was part of your journey. You know what I mean? Some of our journey is part of the blueprint. It's already there for us, you know. But the other part is choices. See, some things is already in the blueprint, and some things is by choice. But we
right,
have to have a discerning spirit to know the difference.
right,
See what I mean? Because some things that we can change immediately, you
right.
know, and acknowledge immediately and adjust accordingly. And that's a beautiful thing. And being that your name means patience and a blessed person there, we have to, no matter how smart you are as the original man, you still have to learn how to use your hands because we are builders by nature.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So moving forward there, you um, created or established a mindset, a title which is called Flow. Um, FLOW. What exactly
Yeah.
does that mean, and how do you implement what that means?
So for love of wisdom, once when I got out of college, I was in college again. I was going for football, communication, but I found my passion in young people. Again, I wanted to reach back and people who and help myself in the past. Again, remember I said you're going to meet yourself at some point in time.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to reach back and I looked at education as the way of doing that. And while I was in my maybe third year teaching, I met some colleagues who had the same fire that I had. And we talked about developing some program. The school we were at, it was called CEP, Community Education Partners, which was an alternative school that the school district of Philadelphia was dumping a whole bunch of money into and sending our problematic students to that school
Mm-hmm.
for a minimum for 1 year. And so they had to prove that they can return back into public school once they go there. So while there, we saw holes in the program. We saw that the program, they started off to be this disciplinary school, but here you detaining students longer than what you said you were, and there was a problem there. So we figured, let's fill that void. Let's bring something that um, that they don't have and that the students need. And many of the students needed um, some type of spiritual health guidance, right? And I say health, I'm talking about mental, um, socially, um, and spiritual guidance. So we came up with it was called for the love of wisdom, and so but we coined it flow. So we would bring in, we partnered up with a organization called it was an interfaith based organization called Arts and Spirituality, and they would come and teach the kids poetry. And so our thing was helping them to be able to express themselves in a creative way. And oh man, so much came out of that doing that. We would have a we would have a youth pastor who would come and talk to them, and, have little circle groups with them and talk to them just about what's going on, right? Not we weren't pushing faith on them, but the conscious making them conscious of a spiritual life. And I got this idea from that as we were doing that, and these kids are producing this great artwork um, of poetry. I had this vision, similar to you saw the movie Love Jones,
Yes.
right? And the whole poetry thing, um, that whole scenery. You had this. Um, well, there was a club, but I want to try to mimic that in the school setting. Of course, not being a club, but bringing that type of aura and allowing the kids to express themselves.
Mm.
And we started a poetry slam, and oh man, it was beautiful, man. We did it for like 4 or 5 maybe about we did about four straight years.
Wow.
And the kids would look forward to it. I mean, they would all get involved and they would make the backdrop. And so the ones who weren't poetically inclined, they would make the backdrop for the program. And then some would help make the stage and put the lights around the stage. And we had some who would do the audio version of it and make a soundtrack for it. It was a phenomenal event. And that was that was what what was all about. And the energy that it was creating, it stayed with me. It stayed with them. It was so powerful that when uh out of the three of us, the one gentleman, he left. So it was just two of us remaining. We kept it going. When I left, the program continued.
Mm.
Right. So what I helped establish went on without me. That the energy that it created, that vibrant light, it could not be dimmed because it was making a difference. It was living. It was the program was living up to its name, for the love of wisdom. They were striving for wisdom. They wanted to obtain wisdom. They was recognized their everyday problems that they were going through and putting it in the atmosphere. They they were calling out for help. They gained mentors out of it. We had a young man, he went down to University of Penn and they did a poetry exhibit, and he went live on the radio and he was doing his poetry. So it was so many people, and I mean, you saw families coming together because the families were so proud of their children, the work that they was creating. They knew they found out something that they didn't even know about. They discovered something they wasn't even aware about with their child. Their confidence grew. And so I will never forget that. I will never forget that. And fast forward, so that was for the love of wisdom then. That was back in 2000, from 2004 to 2008, maybe 9. I would say 2009. That was going on. Fast forward 2020 during the pandemic, I was telling my wife, I said, I want to inspire people. I want to leave people with something. And I was writing down these different quotes and just different phrases that were impactful and inspirational. And I said, I want to put it on make a t-shirt line. And she looked at me, she said, well, why don't you just do it? You've been talking about it. Just do it. And I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And I went to YouTube University and schooled myself on how to create the designs and things like that. And I was putting them up on Facebook and Instagram, and I got some positive feedback from it. And I said, you know what? Flow is going to be reborn. And so here we're going to have For Love of Wisdom. Flow is coming back. And I called the people that I initially started at the school, and I told them, and they were like, go on and do it. They were so excited. They were so excited that I was doing it. And so, people were like, they were attracted to some of the sayings and things that the designs I was creating. And the fire it just went to a whole nother level. It started to grow. And it was like, well, you're giving these people this message. I had a motto. I said, wear what you say while you say what you wear. Become a walking conversation. I said, I gotta give more. And one of my mentors, Dr. Eric Thomas, they call him the hip hop preacher, motivational speaker, coach. I got to attend some of his sessions, and I said, that's the missing piece. To bring more substance to what I'm doing. Yes, it's nice to give them a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sweatshirt. It's nice, but I could give some more substance. I could give something more than that. I can give coaching. I can give training. I can inspire individuals to look at themselves bigger than what they currently are. I can have them look at the reason why they're in the position that they're in. That's like a burning desire for me to see people go through life and not see any purpose. We all have a purpose.
That's right.
And it's imperative that you hold up your end of the purpose while I hold up my end of the purpose to the best of our ability. And while I hold up my end of the purpose, or I strive to I say the best of my ability because none of us are perfect and we all fall short. But the whole thing is strive for something. Strive for something. Just don't go through life expecting life to take care of you. No, you got to take care of life. And so I pour that into my trainings and in my clients. I pour that into them and my students every day because I'm still an educator. I pour that into them. You can't just think life is just going to take care of you. You have something to offer. So they say, Mr. King, can you help me get a job? I say, okay, all right, I can try to help you get a job. I say, why are you looking for a job? Just like you're looking for a job. Where are you going to get that job? Somebody had to have the idea that, you know what, I'm going to create this business to create jobs. I'm not against you working for somebody, because I work for somebody. I have a job too. However, I want to help young people understand that you can be the job. You can create the jobs that other people want. So, yes, go and get a job, but don't settle with the job. Go in there and be like a detective and say, I'm going to learn everything I can learn about this company so I can eventually step away and create my own company. Or even if you don't step away, create your own company. Or invest in the company that you work for. Right? You're working there, invest in it. Become part owner. So when quick story, when I got out of college, I had the idea of investing. Someone told me about stock, and I would get in conversations with older people who knew all about stock, investing in stock, and I would talk to them. And it's funny because I would talk to them like I knew I really knew what I was talking about. But I knew a little bit, but I didn't know everything. Like it was this one gentleman. He was the resident hall director, and at my college, I went to Millersville University, and his name was Chip. And I would talk to Chip, and I said, Chip, you know what? It'd be a great investment. He's like, hey, what you got? I said, Marvel. I said, Marvel is going. They filing for bankruptcy, and they're going for 50 cents a share. That might be a good investment. He said, oh, that's a good idea. If I'm telling him that, you would assume that I made the investment. But I didn't know how to invest. I wanted to, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the know-how. And so me engaging these conversations started to point me in the direction of getting the know-how. Now, it was shame on me. I should have just asked. right? I wasted a whole lot of time. So once when I learned how, never invested in Marvel. I missed the boat on that because Marvel was coming out with Spider-Man and Marvel took off. My brother did it. He made like 10 grand off it. Yeah. So that was shame on me that I didn't even ask how to do it. But once I learned how to do it, someone told me about drip accounts. You can bypass the middleman and directly go to the company, invest in the company. So I had two companies in mind, McDonald's and Walt Disney, that I wanted to invest a certain amount of money into. So they both offered drip accounts. So I called McDonald's Corporation and they told me to go to a local McDonald's and get the application so I can start to invest. I go to 30th and Market. This happened to be in the area. I go to 30th and Market and ask them for the application to set up a direct investment account. They looked at me like I had two heads. And they was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, corporate told me I could come here and get it. And so they was like, well, you got to see the manager. And I saw the manager. He looked at me like I had three heads. So just so happened, and I don't know if the person was a manager or just a crew member, was walking by and like, I think I know what he's talking about. And they said, follow me. And they took me in the back, buried in boxes. Buried in boxes were the applications for the direct investment plan. And I walked out and I'm thinking, wow, these people working for the Golden Arches, sitting on a gold mine, and not taking advantage of it. They rather get an hourly hourly rate, wage, and they're not taking advantage of it. Either they just don't know about it, or they just refuse to do it. So I found that very interesting. Now I was the two. I was going to invest in Walt Disney or McDonald's. I chose Walt Disney. I would have made a lot more money if I'd have went with McDonald's, but it's okay. I went with Walt Disney, and Walt Disney, after probably like around 2011, 10, 11, around that time, Walt Disney purchased Marvel. So I was able to recapture some of what I lost if I'd invested in Marvel before. And Walt Disney took off with the collaboration with Marvel. We know what all the Marvel movies and things like that. So sometimes the answer is right in our face and we just don't realize it. But if we just ask, we can get the answer we're looking for.
That's beautiful, brother. That's an interesting journey and an interesting story there. See, you learn as you go along. See, there's no such thing as having all the answers because you're learning as you go along. You see what I mean? And, and the bottom line, as you say, God bless the child, he got his own. So that's what we should be gearing for. You might have to work for others, and others will benefit from your efforts. But the key is to continue to strive to have your own. First and foremost, to have your own mind. And but life isn't just nothing but an opportunity to know and to fulfill your reason and your purpose. And we have to understand what this thing that we call life is. A lot of people are unaware. We say life, but it doesn't register anything other than I'm here. But that's a huge responsibility to fulfill your purpose for being here. And everything is nothing but a stepping stone.
Right.
So we shouldn't be tripping about with things that don't turn out the way that we want it to turn out. We just got to keep on striving until we get it right. See, you're blessed through your efforts.
Right.
And no efforts, no blessings. Little effort, little blessing. Medium effort, medium blessings. A lot of effort, a lot of blessings. But we got to keep on going in spite of it all. So I was interested in how did you apply all of this wisdom to the youth to give them an opportunity to really look into what life is all about, and what position should they take in life in order to prosper, in order to benefit, in order to bless themselves. So what are you doing today to motivate, inspire, and encourage our youth to uh, take a better look, first and foremost, at themselves?
So, it's a couple of things. If you're in my classroom, I'm challenging you with the idea of why you're here, right? What your purpose, why you're here. So I ask my students, do you believe everyone have purpose? And they'll say, yeah. I never get a no on that one. So we agree. Where do your purpose come from? Because you don't choose it. Where does your purpose come from? And the Jeopardy song comes on, right? The wheels are turning. They're thinking.
Good.
And somebody will have the guts because of the climate that we're in. You can't say the three-letter word, right? You can't say the word. You can't say God, right? You can say it, but people are afraid to say it because they don't want to offend nobody and all that. And so somebody will have guts to say it. I said, okay, great. Now, if God gave you purpose, why or are you striving for it? Are you striving for that purpose? Well, if God gave you purpose, are you going to let someone distract you from fulfilling that purpose? Or are you going to choose to allow somebody to affect you, distract you of that purpose? So thinking about that, right? And getting them to self-reflect. Big on self-reflection. I'm big on building awareness. When I do my trainings with my youth, I have one coming up later this month with the Girl Scout of America, and I'm working with some young girls and on leadership, getting them to discover the leader in them. And one of the things I do is I use a psychometric tool. I partner up for Love of Wisdom. We partnered up with ETA Enterprises, which is the company that I told you one of my mentors, Dr. Eric Thomas, is with. He has endorsed my company, and we use a psychometric tool called a flight assessment. And so through that, individuals able to self-assess themselves and see where their, as we say, superpower lies. So where are their gifts? Where are their talents? Looking at their personality, measuring their personality, looking at their behavioral patterns, and building that self-awareness. And
Mm,
so if you realize that you come to find out, you realize that you are great with people, you care about people, you easily relate to people, you this extrovert. Well, chances are you might want to be a teacher. You might want to be a social worker, psychologist, because you like interacting with people. You might want to be a journalist, right? And so using that and giving people a direction to go into, right,
mhm,
based on their personality, based on how they handle certain situations. If it's an individual who love to solve problems, right? They if they love to solve problems, then point them into a direction where they get to solve people problems.
mm. We have to understand that's those are excellent points. We
Mhm.
have to actually emphasize the power of choices
Absolutely.
and the power of process. See, we have to give them a process.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because because it took a process to get us where we are,
Hmm.
whether conscious or unconscious. But
Hmm.
we have to be more conscious of everything that we do, feel, think, and
Hmm.
act.
Yep.
See, and we have to give them that because when you go to these schools, and a lot of them dummy us down
Hmm.
because it's too weak for us. That's why we get so boring. You know what I mean? The energy is not strong enough.
All right. Right.
So we got to give them a process that is related to the eagles.
Hmm.
See what I mean? But we go to school for chickens. Even though both of them birds, you know, they're two different kind of birds, and chickens don't fly, even though they got wings. So
Right. Yeah. I want to soar, man. I don't want to. I don't want to stay on the ground. I want to soar. I want to
be ye,
venture out.
right, be ye in the world, but not of it. See, that's the
That's
eagle.
right.
They in the world, but they're not of it. They come down, do what they got to do, and they go on back on up.
Hmm. Yeah.
And, and we
And
have,
those who try to get them distracted. I was watching this one piece on it on online, and it was talking about this crow and how crows sometimes attack eagles, and the eagle just ignore the crow, but naturally they get rid of the crow. Why? Because the crow cannot hang with an eagle. As that eagle go to a certain altitude, that crow start to lose his breath. You know what? I'm too high. I can't. I can't handle that. You know what? I'm gonna let you go. You too much for me. And that crow fall off. Why? You know, because that eagle is soaring. And
right.
so, we give our young people. So we agree that there's purpose, and with purpose come a direction that we must walk into. Right? Certain there come paths that we must take. Right? And paths that we must take that align with our principles, our morals, our ethics, our values,
Nature.
our nature, right? And thank you for saying that. And so, um, we have to put our young people on that path and then start to nurture them along the way.
Mm,
Just don't send them on the path and just let them go. No,
mm.
we got to be there and go with them and help them through some of their troubles.
And that's the purpose of giving them a process.
Right.
Because most of our children, they want to do right, but they just don't know how to do it. And in your efforts of good intentions, you can make a bigger mess.
Right.
So you must make things clear to them how to get to A from A to B as straight as possible.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, so so this is how I deal with the youth that I work with, and I do something similar with the adults. again, as I stated before, uh, it's it's nothing like someone who's just going through life. And sometimes as adults, we may have took the wrong path, right? So we having that midlife crisis. So let's hit the reboot and focus let's focus on your rightful place. Okay. You might look at it as it's too late, but
Mm,
it's never too late,
mm.
right? It's never too late because while you made the wrong decision to go down that wrong path, here you can save somebody else from going down the path that you went down.
That's an excellent point, brother. My thing is that if it wasn't for those mistakes, would you be as determined as you are?
Absolutely.
So if you learn from it, it's all good. Now we
Right.
must understand that learning can be painful, learning can be hurting, learning can be uncomfortable, but we must not give so much attention to that because the blessing is in the lesson.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that because that's why I don't use the word failure, right? I don't use the word failure. I use lessons.
Mm,
This is where we learn.
that's right. That's right,
So,
bro. And
some of your greatest some of your I would this probably all your greatest all your inventions came with some trials and tribulations.
that's what scientists do. They go in the lab and they mix it up until they get it right, get the
Trial
product
and
they're
error.
looking for. There you go.
Trial and error. Yep.
That's all part of learning. That's what I was talking about process. If we give it that process and we put down footnotes, sometimes things are not going to come out right, but you got to keep on going until you get it right. That's what makes our mothers and women in the kitchen, they're scientists, but they don't even know that. They're
Right.
also mathematicians.
Right.
The different measurements, you know what I mean? And then they mixing stuff. And man, we're bigger than what we know that we are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to help adults understand. And you're not going through the mundane. You're just not allowing life um to guide you. You're going to make your mark in
That's right.
life. And so when I hear this in the workplace, hey, how you doing? Same, different day.
Or I'm hanging in there, whatever that
Yeah, I'm
means.
hanging in there. I'm like, you can't be hanging in there. If you hanging in there, you won't be here.
Yeah, you got to
You
put them
won't be
10
here if
toes
you
on.
hanging in there.
You got to put them
So
10 toes on the ground and dig in, brother.
right. And so my whole thing is when I step into a room, I want people to know, and this is what I try to share to the people that I train and teach is when you step into the room, the equation changes. Why?
Mm,
Because another variable come in.
mm,
You're going to change it.
mm,
You're not just going to blend in and no one knows you're there. Whether you
mm,
are whether you are introvert or not, you're going to change the outcome of that situation
mm.
because you have been added to the equation.
And you're going to take it to another level.
Absolutely. And if you don't feel like it, so what? Feelings. We're in a time now where we get caught up in our feelings. And I'm not saying don't ignore your feelings. Feelings are important. Feelings could be signs of things that's happening, that's taking place. You don't ignore your feelings. However, your feelings should not overtake your agenda.
Mm. That's excellent. That's heavy.
Because I don't feel like getting out the bed sometimes. That's natural. And maybe I stayed up too late. That's natural. Maybe I don't feel well. Maybe my body is under attack. I don't feel like it. but you're not going to stop me from fulfilling my purpose.
Woo.
It may be delayed, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to stop me.
Mm.
Constantly, I think we have to be reminded of that, and that is determined by what we deposit into our minds on a daily basis.
That's true, brother. Sometimes we allow our feelings to sabotage our ability to reason.
Absolutely.
So we must understand those kind of things there, because everybody got feelings. Because you're human, you got a heart. But
Right.
that's why they, put your breastplate on and do more thinking.
Absolutely.
Guard your heart and start thinking.
And
So
so what I try to share with I give all my clients, I give them like a blueprint to get them started on the right path and to
good.
help keep them motivated along the way. So the roadmap is laid out for them. It's just now is a matter of them implementing it.
Yeah, fulfill the process.
Absolutely. And so, um,
So let me ask you this, brother, not to disturb. We have a couple minutes left there.
okay,
Time moves fast, brother.
it
And
does.
what you're saying, man, I'm feeling all of that. It's very motivating, stimulating, and what exactly are you doing today? What group are you really focused on? I understand that you do some upliftment with the youth study center, juvenile study system. What exactly? How do you feel about what you're doing with uh, the uh, the youth that are caught up into the youth study center, and how do they even look at our children, what I mean, in these kind of situations and so forth and so on, because a lot of times it's not their fault, what I mean, but what I mean, so we have to give them a process to for them to avoid that and continue to do that, because a lot of times we be bitching and complaining, and a lot of times it is up to us to get ourselves out. Why? Because you got yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
got yourself in it, you can get yourself out.
Right.
It's just a matter of process. It's just a matter of your will, and and your will is determined by how important it is to you. Because if it's that important, you will find the will to do it.
Yeah. 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 People won't do what they really want to do. If you really want to do it, you're going to do it.
True.
So
True.
at the Philadelphia Juvenile Justice Service Center. So, well, let me make it clear. So, I work in the Philadelphia Juvenile Justice Service Center, formerly known as the Youth Study Center. However, I work for the School District of Philadelphia. So, we have a school within the center, which we call the Philadelphia Juvenile Justice Service Center School. And then my role is not only am I a teacher, but I focus on college and career awareness. And with that, I try to establish partners with the school that will help support our youth once when they are released. While our youth are there, help um, implement implement lessons that's going to prepare them for the opportunities once they leave, such as teaching them power skills, so they can maintain um, a job. They teach exposing them to post-secondary opportunities so they can get the training that they need to take on a job or start their business.
Mm.
Right. And so we teach about entrepreneurship. We have a CTEC program where we teach them how to, um, we have one network cabling, teaching them so if they can get out, if they leave, they can get a job with Verizon or Comcast. Right.
Mm.
They can wire somebody's house with, cable and things like that, and
Mm.
internet. Um, we have like a audio video production class that they could take. So that's my responsibility. But this year, because this is the year, while the pandemic ended last year, we come out the pandemic from last year, they officially said it was over last year. However, this year, my goal has been exposure. And I realize a lot of our young people lack exposure.
Good point.
If you don't, you if the mountain is in front of you and you cannot climb that mountain, you won't know what's on the other side of that mountain. You
True.
won't know if you never seen green grass, you would never know green grass exists.
Mm.
And so I I'm fortunate to be able to invite individuals to come in and speak to them. Like, so it's like in regular school, you have a field trip. Well, I like to bring the field trip to them
Mm.
and bring in influential individuals that will come in and pour into them. And that's how I met Sister Victoria. She came in and she shared her talents, her gifts with our young people. She has a gift of writing, and she was able to breathe life into them and let them know, like, you can write just by journaling. And she invested in them by giving them journal books, and they
Mm.
look forward to them.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
So they need that.
Mm.
This coming in a few weeks on May 8th, we'll be hosting our Young Men Empowerment Summit.
Mm.
And so this was something that was put on my heart um, years ago when I first got to the school. When I first came to the school, I remember hearing on the news, hey, at the Youth Study Center, they had all these celebrities that come and the Will Smiths, you name it. The Mary J. Blige, all the entertainers would come this one particular day. It was almost like a festival. And I remember seeing that on the news. And so when I started to work there, that was in the back of my mind. And I said, we need to have something similar to that. But I don't need a celebrity. I don't need celebrities,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't need celebrities. I need people people who are there for the right reasons. Not saying a celebrity won't be there for the right reason, but I want everyday folk like you and I, the unsung heroes in our communities, to come talk to these young people.
Beautiful.
And we had anywhere from the first year, the first year I did it, I just did it for the girls. And they would come and talk to women, the influential women would come talk to the girl. And then the second year, I did it for the girls and I did it for the young men. And we had anywhere from the superintendent to a gentleman who just got out of prison maybe a week ago and did maybe 40 years in prison and wanted to give back and tell them, hey, you don't want to go where I was.
Mm.
So the spectrum of individual of men it hit all throughout the whole spectrum,
Mm.
right? We had a young man who I think he did maybe about 15 years in prison, and today he's an underwater welder.
Wow.
That was back in, I would say that was probably back in 2017 or 2018. Because he came today, if you came and you talked to a group of our young people, someone will say, I want to be an underwater welder.
Wow.
That's the impact of that,
Beautiful.
of doing an activity, doing a summit like that. where we had anywhere from 35. One year we had 65 men that looked like you and I, looked like them, that came in and poured into them over a 2-day span.
Wow. Wow. Well, how can people reach you? I know. See, you every time you said you're talking, there were magic words. They were very powerful. And one of the most magic words that impressed me was preparation. We must be prepared. And the more prepared you are, the more no one can catch you off guard.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny, it's interesting you said, because over the pandemic, I put out a call um on social media. I put out a call for men to step up and become part of a team, or to form a team to combat what what we're facing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see my email is on the bottom of the screen. The only difference is it should be 2020. So for love of wisdom, 2020 at gmail.com. That's
2020. Yep.
for love,
Yep.
because that's when I actually started the corporation, and the doing the professional and personal development was in 2020. So it's for love of wisdom 2020. So they can get in contact with me. Yes, I'm always looking for men and women um, to come and pour into our young people. They need that. Yep, that's correct. 2020. Yes. I'm always looking for people. Why? Because they need to hear it. They need to hear. They need to see that it's possible.
That's right. That's right.
Again, as I said before, you meet yourself. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure anyone come in there and talk to some of our young people, they will see themselves in them.
True. True.
I tell them, because they would be young, they be young people. They're young, immature, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're learning,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they'll start their day, and they will, in their words, they'll bid on another person, meaning they'll start saying jokes and cracking jokes on them, and saying some things that really hurt, and throwing threats out there. And I'll say, look, there's a problem. The problem is you don't love yourself enough. I love myself. I love myself. How you gonna tell me I love it? Because if you look at that, you look at your fellow brother. If you don't see yourself, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that bad of yourself that you want to say some nasty things to yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
don't love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great point, brother. And we also have to understand the process of love. Love just doesn't come. Love is a process, and love is built on the foundation of respect. And that's
Right,
why Tina Turner made that song, "What Love Got to Do with It When You Don't Respect Me."
right.
So we have the foundation of love and relationship is first respect. Because when I was brought up, the only thing that you heard was respect. I learned about love later.
Hmm.
See what I mean? So everything is based. I think we talk too much about love without the foundation, building the foundation, because the most important part of a structure is the foundation.
I
So
agree.
you have to have a foundation of respect. So
Right.
we have to let them know that, hey, the more you respect yourself, the more you can build on it.
Absolutely. And when a person fail to have respect for you, you have to show them what it looked like.
True,
You have
true,
to
true.
exemplify it. So
Right.
they say you got to give respect to get respect.
Yes.
Let me show you what respect looks like.
Mm,
And the more I respect you, you're going to learn to respect me.
true, true, true. And we have to be the example. You know what I mean? My thing is that we as the thinkers, we as the balancers have to understand where those other people are. And so that'll let us know where we need to start.
Correct.
Build that foundation that they can put that love and so forth, the confidence and so forth on there. We have to let them know that they are more than the eye can see. We are first spiritual.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean? We are spiritual, mental, and physical. But they teach us at school that we are physical, mental, and spiritual. No, we are spiritual first.
Correct.
Because if we are the original people, we came directly from God. So
Right.
we are spiritual first. And
Absolutely.
we have to understand that we are the eagles, and eagles are different from all the other birds. We have to be very strategic on how to reach them. You know what I mean? But they're nothing but the little us, really.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? You can't put them to the side and say me and then them. No, it's us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with making mistakes, because making mistakes is all part of learning.
Right.
And it's one thing that we have a problem with more than anything is forgiving ourselves.
Right.
We forgive everybody but ourselves. And we end up beating ourselves up for the rest of our life on an experience, you know what I
Correct.
mean, that we can't get over. So we must lay, and that's what you call laying your burdens down.
Mm-hmm.
See, because the more burdens you have, the more loaded down you are. And the more loaded down you are, the more bent over that you are. And we have to be 90 degrees perpendicular to the universe.
Absolutely.
And no
Absolutely.
one can ride you.
Right.
You know, if I'm straight, if I'm north 90 degrees, south 90 degrees, east 90 degrees, west 90 degrees, 90 times 4 is what?
Hmm.
360. And
Right.
that's what we are. We 360. We got to come out of the box and get on the 360, because what goes around comes around.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, so all of us know something, you know what I mean? We'll hit them in different angles. What,
Mm-hmm.
what, what I usually do, I call it raw food for thought. Just give them something to think about, because some people are scared to think, and that's why they're too overly emotional. But with that in mind, Warrior, that the time has come where we have to kind of uh, kind of end our show and bring you back, brother, because I love the way you challenge people by calling on them to see where they're at. You know what I mean? Because all of us should be willing to be there for one another.
Yes.
You know, because all of us have something to offer. You know what I
Yes.
mean? What good is it to have it and have no one to share it with? So
Correct.
this is what I'm saying, man. You know, challenge people. You know what I mean, to see where they are, and then you can go from there. But I'm willing, brother, because even though I didn't have a lot of people and mentors and all of it in my life, you know, I'm an example of how God can continue to bless you through your own efforts. And
Yes.
we must emphasize that. You know what I mean? That we are the example of our efforts. We are the results of our efforts. It just didn't come. A lot of people say you born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Well, so what? That don't mean that you're prosperous, because you
Right.
might not even understand the power of that spoon, or the value of their spoon. So we must give them that kind of wisdom, to give them something to think, because a lot of people don't think. They're just too emotional. You know, and man means mind. So we have to we have to develop ourselves into thinkers. You have to go through the rites of passage to earn the right to go from a boy to a man. That doesn't come with age. That comes with effort, mental effort. You know, and you can't even be spiritual if your mind ain't right, because
Right.
the mind is the gateway to the spiritual. So we have to give them that also. So you have something to share, and I have something to share. But guess what? It's still different sides of the same thing.
Correct.
You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So we're giving them a bigger a vision of what's going on, and giving them options to get where they need to be. So how, other than, so your email is at the bottom of the screen. This is the way that most people contact you, or is there other means of contacting you? Because I'd definitely like to get involved myself, because that's what I do.
Yes. And so you can. I'm on social media. You can look up at for love on Instagram at for love of wisdom, and on Facebook, same thing at for love of wisdom. On YouTube, it's for love of wisdom 2020, and you will see different videos that pop up there. Um, to see what type of content I'm posting. Yes, if you would like to partake in and join us in the summit, um, you email me, or you email me or DM me on any of those social media platforms, and I will send you a registration link that will allow you to partake in it
Oh,
on
beautiful.
the May 8th event. If you want to come at a later time, because it don't have to be that event. I can make room for um, you to come and talk to the youth on a different time. You just, again, just through email, or someone could DM me, and we can make those arrangements.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Now that
yeah.
we have a minute or two left, I want to give you the last word. What will be your last words to put the icing on what you said, you shared with us today?
I'll leave you with one of the things I normally use. A phrase that couple phrases I use whenever I speak. I was created to change the world. So are you. Together, we are the solution, and
Mm,
we can make a difference.
that's power. That's the power of unity.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
power of community, common unity. And we have to be like the beehive. You mess with one, you got to deal with all of us. So
absolutely.
we used to be that way. So, but this false sense of integration kind of made us individuals. So we got to get back to our reality of being the original people, the original thinkers, and original doers. So I appreciate you, brother, more than and I already know who I am. You know who you are. So therefore, the God in me is the God in you. So
Hey,
we all one, brother. We all one. And I thank you for blessing us with your time and your energy and your encouragement and your motivation.
thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to doing this again, and seeing you uh, on my platform.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, sir. No doubt, no doubt. Hey, hey, look, I'm willing, brother. I'm willing.
Okay.
Like I said before, what good is it to have and have no one to share it with? And they say no one lives forever. If I pass my mind down to one of those youths, that's still me,
Yes.
because
Yes.
everything is mental
Correct.
first. You know what I mean? So that's beautiful, brother. And once again, I appreciate you. And I'd like to say to the listening audience, I really appreciate you tuning in, and prayerfully you got something out of what our warrior Syeed King shared with us. And beautiful brother, educated. Look at that. Man, that's some strong energy there. That's some strong energy there. And I really appreciate you, brother. And I like to say this, family, to continue to stay strong and keep your faith where it belongs, because life is for the living. And also do your best and let God do the rest. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. How do you know when to hold and when to fold? You have to have a sharp discerning spirit to know the difference, so you won't be using emotions and feelings, because your emotions and feelings can have a tendency to sabotage your ability to reason and to think. So be careful. Guard your heart when you're ready to move out in life and challenge life. You got to guard your heart and use your mind. So, family, thank you once again. Right thinking, Right giving and right eating is holistic living. So let's get back to our original way of life, our original purpose, and to honor and to represent our ancestors, the creator and our ancestors, and to go ahead on and fulfill our purpose. So with that in mind, this is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, your servant, the host of the Men's Room Talk Show, acknowledging the Black man in the community who's fulfilling their purpose.
All right. Peace.
Peace, warrior.
All right.